Hey everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and today we're going to talk about e-commerce marketing strategies and how do you drive traffic to your products. Now, in e-commerce, we spend a lot of time building the website, products, and other business aspects. We tend to think of that old saying, if you build it, they will come. I think that was what Field of Dreams. Well, we do that. We build our sites, we create our products, we put all this energy into building the business, and then we get frustrated because we're not making sales, right? We're like, okay, well, if we aren't making sales, what do we put all this energy in there for? And there's a reason for that. And then you say, okay, you go and you research and you say, somebody told me that the best way to market is this. We've all been told a specific way to market, and then it doesn't work. So the reality is each of us has to figure out what works best and then adapt it as we need. Now let's talk marketplaces versus your own store. So a marketplace like Amazon or Etsy, they've spent years. I remember buying, used books, my school books back in, I think it was actually, so it must have been when I was in my first years of college, way back in the day from Amazon when they were just focused on books, right? So they spent years and lots of money to get traffic to those websites. They use paid advertising, email marketing, and big branding strategies, right? And they're a big brand. So they drive massive traffic to those sites. And in some cases it's a big if, you can rank. So rank, which would be, show up on the first page or so for search terms on those sites, you're going to drive quite a bit of traffic to your products. Now, compare this to your own store where you have to do all of that branding and all of that advertising and all of that marketing that has already been done by the marketplaces. Right. So now this is where a lot of people seem to think that if they build a website, it's going to be like, oh, people are just going to show up and start buying stuff. I've only had that happen once, and that was a long time ago. So on marketplaces, and I talked about this, when you rank in the first couple of pages, it's part of something called search engine optimization, because marketplaces are search engines, right? You go to Amazon, somebody types in a search term, it's a search engine of sorts, right? And so each marketplace has its own algorithm. Now, algorithm is just a fancy word for saying how they determine what products they're going to show to people. And the algorithms use customer buying behaviors, purchase patterns, and plenty of other data to determine what products rank. I'm going to tell you now, there is no 100% guaranteed way. If somebody tells you that they have a guaranteed way to rank your product, they're lying. And that's because there are some customer buying behaviors that you can't control. An example of this would be on Amazon. One of the algorithm factors is, and in fact, I think Etsy is doing the same thing, even though they claim they're not. I've tested this and it looks like that's the case, is that they're going to show products that are going to get you faster. So if you're looking for a product, the ones that are going to show up first are the ones that are closest to you, right? So if somebody's not going to go past page 3 or 4, they may not be getting the best product shown to them. Instead, they're getting the closest product that matches but is still within a reasonable shipping distance from them. And that's for, making people happy with shipping, and of course for cost efficiency, especially if you're on Amazon, right? Amazon's usually you're a Prime buyer and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to buy Prime, I'm going to get free shipping. And guess what? If Amazon has to eat the cost, they're going to minimize that cost. So they do use distance, and that's something you can't control. Now, each platform also has its own strategies to rank on the platform, with each having an emphasis on sales. So you're going to need a good enough product. I've seen some pretty bad products, especially on Amazon, that somehow show up on page 1 for searches. They eventually go away, but not after selling. You have to sell like tens of thousands of products. Then all of a sudden you no longer see them anymore. And that's usually because they don't have a good quality product, and they eventually get tagged for that and kicked off the platform if it's bad enough. So, you need to have a product that people are going to want to buy. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless in the first place. But as long as people buy it and they're happy with it, you can stay on the platform. You can keep making sales. Now, we're not going to dive into the specific marketplace SEO strategies here because that's going to take way too long. I could do different strategy, different video on each one, probably a couple hours long each. But we're going to have other videos in the future to help with those. And if you happen to sell on Amazon, because we haven't done a whole lot of Amazon stuff, I do have a link in the description for a free training that you can watch that teaches, it's actually about SEO in general and also talks about Amazon, because there's a strategy that I used for my Amazon sales, and that's where I got it from, was this free training. So I'll have a link to that in the description. Now then you've got paid traffic methods. Now this is regardless of whether you're on a marketplace or not, right? So advertising is the most common paid traffic method. So as of right now, you got to think, okay, I can either advertise on a marketplace or to my own website. And I'm going to tell you now, it's not an easy decision, right? If you have deep enough pockets, you should definitely do it to your own website. Why? Because you are if you're on Amazon or Etsy, it's not your listing, right? You're paying to put your product on their site, and so they do what they want. And a perfect example of this is on Etsy. Now, their internal ads are probably not so bad, but if you're running traffic, like you're running your own Facebook ads or something and sending traffic to a product, you have a good chance that Etsy is going to show somebody else's product in front of yours. On Amazon, guess what? People can pay to advertise on your listing. So no matter what you do, if you're paying for ads on these marketplaces, you're paying for traffic to the site, really not to your products. I mean, ideally to your products, but they've kind of finagled their way around ethics here, because that is completely unethical. If you're paying for ads, you shouldn't be paying for ads to send to other people's paid ads. It's just, that's got to be some sort of ethical violation there. So if you think about this though, and you say, okay, hey, is advertising effective? It is. It really is. And if you can get your product in front of the right person at the right time for the right price, right? You got these factors in there, then you can literally advertise and still make money as long as you've built that in. So these are all strategies we'll have to talk about another time, because I don't want to dive too deep into them, but I want to give you some ideas of how you get traffic to your e-commerce sites or your e-commerce products. So if you're on your own site and you're running advertising, you run it to your product, right? Never run it to the main page with a bunch of different products, because that's just really low conversion rates. Now, a type of advertising that is critical if you do run ads is retargeting or remarketing. Now, those terms have changed over the years, and so I still use both of them, and different platforms call them different things, but like I said, their definitions have kind of changed. But generally, you're going to see a retargeting or remarketing option for ads. That is something you should definitely implement, especially, and this is actually only if you have your own website. Amazon and Etsy currently use retargeting, remarketing ads, so you don't need to worry about that as much, though they will, pass that on to you. Solo ads is when you pay other people to send emails to your list. This is really common in affiliate marketing, but it is something that you can do in e-commerce as well. I don't have a recommendation for it, and to be honest, I've never had luck with solo ads, but it is something that can be done. Paid influencer marketing. Now, this is really good if you have like a really hot product, like something that's unique or something that's fun. And this would be something where you might go onto Instagram, find a marketer, and there's actually websites that do this. We'll talk about sometime. But you could go on, you could find an influencer on there and say, hey, I'm going to pay you $50 or whatever, $100, $500, just depends on the influencer, to, post something about my product. And they're going to have a percentage of people that are going to click through. Whether they buy it or not is going to be up to your sales page and everything else. But having an influencer do that is a lot like having a friend or family member say, hey, telling somebody else, hey, you're going to like this, right? It's a lot like network marketing, even though you don't know them. So let's talk about some free traffic methods. This is like the most popular thing we hear about, is people want to do free traffic methods. Now, we've been working on setting up free traffic to our site for a couple months now, and I'm going to tell you, it is hard. And I know what I'm doing, right? I just spend a lot more time doing those other activities as well. So if you add in all of those different things, you go, can I even make a dent? I don't know. And honestly, I'm at the point where I'm like, I am not confident that free traffic methods are something that anybody can do. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that are going to get free traffic for various things. They have a cool product. they just happen to have the right person that's endorsing them. Something happens and they're going to get free traffic because of that. Maybe they hit a strategy that's just perfect at the right timing and it works for them. But the problem with free traffic methods is that they're not reliable. So let's talk about SEO, or search engine optimization. This is ranking your website pages in search engines like Google and Bing, right? So marketplaces have SEO, so do regular search engines like Google and Bing. Then there's social media marketing. This is where people see posts and content on social media marketing channels like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, etc., right? And they click through and they go to your product and they take a look. Then there's word of mouth. This is network marketing. This is like network marketing at its core, right? So you got friends and family, and then influencers that you're not paying, because obviously this would be free method, sharing your website information. And that can happen, right? So somebody who's an influencer, there may be some out there that just happen to pick up your product and they're like, hey, this is amazing. Or you send it to them and they review it and they're like, this is amazing. They don't require payment. So it does happen. It's not as common anymore for the influencers, but it is there as a free traffic method. So which method's right for me? Right. Well, e-commerce has specific challenges because products compete with big marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy, Walmart, pretty much anything that sells online that's a big brand you're competing with. And that's because strategies like SEO, or search engine optimization, are really difficult for e-commerce these days because Google, Bing, and other search platforms prioritize existing traffic and branding. Right? They look at the history of the traffic and they go, you know what? A lot of people like to click through to Amazon. So that means even people who aren't looking for Amazon want to see those listings. That may or may not be true, right? But that's how the algorithms work, is that they look at, the user behaviors. And if there's a lot of people that are clicking through on something, then Google, for example, will start showing it to more people. And that's actually in that training, they talk about that and show ways to kind of overcome that. Now, social media requires engagement. So if you're like, hey, I have a Facebook page, I'll just post on there and get some traffic. Yeah, we did an entire video that talked about how much your reach is on social media on organic without paying for ads. And it's low, it's grim, right? And that's because all platforms now, not only do they require engagement, but they reward advertising. So if you're not running advertising, you're not having a lot of engagement. And yes, you can do it without advertising, but it is a lot harder. And it's still going to be a lot less than if you were advertising. So it's extremely difficult on social media as well. So what's an e-commerce business to do? Right now, this depends on where you're at with your business and your resources. If you're brand new versus if you've been in existence and you have, people that you can tap into, those are two completely different resource levels, right? So you're going to need to find a strategy that works best for your business. And there are some common strategies, though. We're going to talk more about those in future videos. But first, you need to analyze your resources, your time, your funds, etc. Because we're coming into the holidays and everything is costing more. If you're here in the US and you can ship out products, you have an advantage, right? There's a bunch of ships sitting off the coasts, multiple coasts now, that are having a tough time getting in. And even when they do come in, there's going to be more behind them that are sitting there. So if you can provide something, especially locally, like within the United States, despite the postal office increasing their prices and increasing their times for delivering everything, you can still capitalize during the holidays on this, but you need to understand what your resources, your time, and your funds are so that you can optimize your strategy the best way possible. So you need to choose a path to get started, and this is going to be dependent upon your resources. For a lot of people that we talk to and that come into Little Biz Resources, we recommend exploring a marketplace like Etsy or Amazon. You don't have to do, if you do Amazon, you do not have to do fulfilled by Amazon, even though Amazon really prioritizes that. If you're on the platform and you're in the United States, you're bound to get sales. Now, is it guaranteed? No, but there's a really good chance, especially for this year and last year too, probably, if you were on Amazon. Now, if you are thinking about Etsy, if your products fit, there's a link in the description for 40 free listings to get your shop started on Etsy. And if you're thinking about selling on Amazon, there's a link for a free ebook about selling on Amazon there. For free methods, if you're like, hey, regardless of marketplace, if for free methods, start with friends and family to help spread the word about your products. I don't know why. I mean, I've been in e-commerce for a really, really long time. And from day one, that's who I tapped first. My friends and family. Hey, look, I'm selling homemade jewelry, right? Whatever it is. I mean, my daughter is the perfect example of this. When she makes something, who does she go to first to share it with? Her friends and her family, right? And then, granted, she doesn't typically think about selling it, but if, when we talk about making money, the first thing she's like, hey, let's tell everybody we know about this, right? So, and that's because she doesn't think that they're going to judge her and tell her it's a crappy product or anything else. For some reason, we get a lot of people that come in and think that. They're like, well, I don't want my friends and family to know that I'm selling this. Okay, well, I mean, that's your prerogative, but that tends to be a really good starting place. So if you have to skip that, then you're going to have a harder time getting started than somebody who doesn't have to skip that, right? And that's just the way it goes. Now, if you have the money for ad spend, and I mean some pretty deep pockets here, like in the thousands of dollars, look into running ads. Almost all of the platforms have made this super simple with very little options for you. I mean, like annoyingly few options. Facebook is a good example of this. Try to run an ad on Facebook. I tried and I had almost zero options. It was frustrating on how little power I had over it, right? They're just like, give us money and we'll figure it out. And it's like, it's scary. It's to go, oh my gosh, I'm going to give you $500 and I might get something back. I don't know about this. So I haven't done it recently, so they may have made some additional changes, but it's getting super, super simple. But you'll need to have a decent amount of money for testing and consider the fact that you may just lose that money and not make sales. That's just the way advertising is right now. And then, of course, keep watching this channel for more info. We've got a lot more details on different strategies on different marketplaces, and you can check the schedule in this channel banner to see what info we release on what days. Next steps. Check the links in the description for the various resources and click the ones you want to learn more about, right? We try to include as many free resources as possible. And then very many of those will take you to the next step, right? So if you're like, hey, I'm interested in selling on Amazon, guess what? Selling on Amazon is not free. Just like selling on Etsy is not free, but we're doing what we can to get you started as quickly as possible for free. So we've got, a link to 40 free listings on Etsy. We've got a link to a free ebook for selling on Amazon. Check those out if you're interested in that. If you're brand new to e-commerce or just looking to get started, we're actually running a series of videos on how to start your own business with no cost. It's using a print-on-demand model. It's e-commerce. There's a link to that series in this description below. Click it and get started. Start going through the videos and taking action. Then ask questions. If you're like, hey, I'm stuck here, this is what my resources are, whatever it is, give some information, ask some questions. You can hop into the private Little Biz Resources Facebook group. We only, we make that private, so you have to request access to get in. So it's not public information. If you are a little bit shy and you want to just ask some questions in a much smaller environment, that's it. There's not a whole lot of people that participate for some reason, but you can hop in and ask questions. You can ask on this video if you're not shy, because it is public, and well, anybody on YouTube could see it then. So if you're not shy or you want to give vague enough details that we can still answer questions, ask the questions on the video. Or you can come live on Thursdays. It's still on YouTube here on this channel. We do a live Q&A every Thursday. It's like 9:30 p.m. Eastern time ish. Sometimes I'm a few minutes late because I got to get for my daughter's dance class, but you can come on Thursdays and ask live and get the information right then, right? You can do follow-up questions, etc. And if you like this content, please hit the like button and help me spread this content to more people. And of course, if you do, please reach out with questions. And I do thank you for watching.